Hey, good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast, way out there in the Pacific, on the Northern Mariana Islands, Guam, America Samoa. If you don't know that there's people out there and partners out there, small businesses out there, well, there are a lot of government contractors are out there, but not as many maybe out here on the East Coast where I'm at. Good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast. We're going to get rocking and rolling in today's training. Today, we're talking about 10Xing your network in the federal market. And really what that means is how do you have a lot more people in your network? And we'll dig into that. There's this great book, and I don't know if you can actually see it. Let me just do this 1 second so it's a little easier to see. Harvey Mackay wrote a book called Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty. And it is a great networking book. And I worked with him way back in the day. And he wrote this book. The idea is you have a network and you're going to need them for some reason. You might want to sell to them. You might want to use them to reach others. You might want to help them. Whatever the reason, you want to build that set of relationships with your network long before you need that. I describe it as not being transactional. Don't just create a relationship for a few seconds to have a transaction and then get out. No, your network is for life. If you're in the government contracting space, for example, you build a network around your community, the people in the federal market that can help you. I also am a sailor, right? And so I build a network for life of people who are in the sailing community that I can learn from, I can have fun with, et cetera. And so this idea of digging your well before you're thirsty is you're definitely going to need a network. And I'll talk about why in a minute, but you're going to need a network. And so make sure you're building that network constantly before you need it. And I just wanted to point out the difference. Today, I'm talking about relationships in your network, so network relationships. And I wanted to distinguish that from something else I teach about strategic relationships. Strategic relationships are these relationships that require a lot of energy. You really can't have many of them. I suggest you want to have somewhere around 10 to 20 strategic relationships spread across a group of people, right? But that's the most because they require a lot of time. If you have a strategic relationship, I say it is defined by the fact that you have a meeting every 2 weeks with them, maybe every 3 weeks. But anything more than that, it's not a strategic relationship. It's just somebody you're connected with. It's in your network. It's a good relationship. But strategic relationships are ones your head's down on, mutually growing. And you can have that with the government as well. Maybe your head's down with a program office, trying to share information, learn, et cetera. But today's topic is around network relationships. So I noticed Dave Waltz, for example, is in here from the Navy. By the way, connect with him, say hi. But Dave wants to build his network as well. He's trying to support the Navy's mission by finding as many qualified vendors to support the Navy's mission. So he doesn't have an immediate need to connect with you. But if he builds his network with you, then when that need comes along, he's able to reach back into this network he's built and say, oh, I noticed that Joe does this or Jane does this, right? And so that's the idea. So we're going to dive a lot more into that. But today's training is going to cover 3 topics. Let me turn off chat here so I don't look at it and get distracted, Dave. Today's training, we're going to be talking about why is it important to have a large network. And then I want to go into describing the different people that should be in your network, roles, et cetera, right? And then the last thing I want to wrap up with is just how do you 10X your network? What can you do to increase the size of your network? That's what we're going to talk about today. If you don't know me, my name is Neil McDonald. I want to welcome you to my federal sales training where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a small business owner. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When you follow a process A to Z, you're going to have repeatable, predictable results. I show here on my screen, if you're looking at the screen, the 7-step process that I teach for federal revenue success. A to Z in this case is research an agency, target them, understand who you want to meet, and then begin to reach out to them with cold calls, right? To develop relationships that will help you identify slam dunk opportunities in order for you to write winning proposals that will guarantee sales, right? If you follow this process, you do enough of the right things over and over again, you're going to have repeatable, predictable results. And that's why I do this training, is so that you can begin to learn the things that will lead you down that path. All right, let's dive into the training. We got a lot in here. I want to begin with why large networks are vital to your success in the federal market. If you haven't been with me before, I move at a fire hose pace. You can always watch the replay on quarter speed and you'll be fine. Okay, so these are in no particular order. I didn't decide to order my bullets on slides today because I just wanted to bounce around. But the first thing that really networks are very helpful for in the federal market is teaming. If you're looking to build your team to go after opportunities or to pursue agencies, et cetera, then networking allows you to be known by potential teaming partners who are looking for companies like yours. It also allows you to know those who you can help, right? Maybe there's people you can just help. Maybe there's people you begin to know who would be good teammates, potential teammates. I talk about when you're doing teaming, put together a teaming worksheet and describe who you're looking for. What type of partner are you looking for? Well, when you go to use that to go look for people, if you have a network of companies out there that you're already fairly familiar with what they do, then it makes it very quick for you to build a teaming outreach group, a bunch of people you're going to reach out to talk about opportunities, et cetera. Number two, agency access, right? This ability to learn about an agency. That's what I mean by access generally. Getting introduced within an agency, but learning about the agency. There's people who are inside the wire who are working for an agency, and those of us on the outside. There's obviously like Dave I mentioned today, and Dave, I might just say your name over and over again today, but Dave, he's in the Navy, right? He's a great federal government person to network with, and he can give you access to the Navy at whatever level, right? If you're looking for strategic plan or, hey, an RFI or a long range forecast or something, he might be able to help you understand that. So that's agency access. But there's also people in the industry who understand the agencies, who are incumbents within the agency. And so when you have a network of those people, you have access to any of the agencies that you want to get into. Vehicle access is contract vehicles, right? So when you think about contract vehicles, many, many opportunities come out on vehicles that you don't have access to. So you cannot bid on them as a prime, but maybe you want access to them. Maybe you see the opportunity somewhere out there, GovWin, whatever, but you can't go after it. Well, if you have a network of people who are on those top vehicles that you want, then you're going to be able to have access to the opportunities that are on those vehicles. Number four, you can expand your company's visibility, right? So I talk about marketing as a passive and an active exercise. So an active marketing exercise, for example, me, is doing this live training, right? I'm talking about it. Something you do, you might put a post on LinkedIn. That's an active thing that you're doing. But passive marketing is your LinkedIn profile, right? If somebody's searching and the results are returned, your website, that's a passive marketing tool. Well, when you have a network, that's kind of the same kind of thing for your company's visibility. People know of who you are, and then they begin to say, hey, I know somebody else. I do this all the time because I know so many of you that over here, when I have people and I hear about needs, et cetera, I'm like, you know what? I know this person. I just did that this morning when I was responding to all of yesterday's comments in the training. I noticed in 159 comments that there was these two companies spread pretty far out in the chat that both did something related to media relations. And so I was able to say, hey, do you two know each other? So you're increasing your visibility when you increase your network. Number five, you get to meet like-minded partners. So it's one thing to meet people who are going into an agency, et cetera, but it's another thing when you start meeting people whose values and business values match your company's values, and you're trying to grow out there and you want to find folks, right? There's I didn't put it here. I thought I would have put it right. Oh, I did. Number 11, fight loneliness. But when you find like-minded partners, that's like me finding a sailing partner who wants to sail around the world the same as I do. Well, now I got somebody who's willing to go out on their boat in the middle of the Pacific. It's the same thing when you think about like-minded partners, both company values, or maybe they want to go after the Navy, or they want to go after Department of Homeland Security. Well, now it's with that like-minded partner, you're able to expand upon how you're able to help each other. Number 6 on why large networks are vital, right, is this ability to hear about opportunities. You can only hear about so many opportunities, but if you start engaging with other people, you're going to hear people start saying, hey, did you hear about this thing? Did you hear about this one? Did you hear about this one? And when you're able to communicate in a really clear way what you sell, it makes it easier for the rest of us to go, hey, I heard this opportunity. I should tell this person. An example is I was just talking with somebody recently who does enterprise network engineering, architecture, et cetera. And now that I got that in my mind about them, that's not all they do, but like that's the top thing. Now that I got it, whenever I hear anything about that around the federal government, I can mention something. So this ability for you to hear about opportunities comes when you have a network, right? The network is out there and all these people have their fingers everywhere in the federal government. They start coming back to you. Number 7, you'll get introduced, right? And you'll be able to make introduction and get introductions. This is really important. I was just mentioning Dave in the Navy, right? He's in our chat today. Just if you're able to build a connection with him and it makes sense for him to introduce you to somebody you're trying to get to, then that's going to work. What if he's hearing from a program office that says, hey, I'm looking for somebody to just talk to early on who does risk management framework. And Dave goes, you know what? I was in Neil's training and I saw 3 companies that did that. Let me see if any of them are willing to talk with this person. But it's the same thing on industry side, right? Maybe we're able to make introductions, like I said, from one industry partner to another industry partner. So there's a lot of value in the introductions that can happen. You'll hear me talk about this later, but it's this giver's gain attitude. Just give those introductions without any expectation of return. Number 8, market insight. So you hear about opportunities, but just also hear about directions of things are going. Market insight could be, hey, did you know about this event happening, this conference happening? There was a post I just saw from, I'm screwing it up and I apologize. Somebody can help me. But John from Rogue, or whatever, he just did a LinkedIn post, right? He's in my network. We're connected. We know each other. We're talking to each other. And he just shared something, I think if I read it correctly, about somebody leaving HHS and going to DOD, artificial intelligence and data team over there. And I'm butchering that. But the point is now he's giving me insight. My network is sharing with me something that's really important. This is really valuable to me because I want to share an artificial intelligence article or newsletter for industry. I want to share something about the federal market's AI play. And because John's sharing that stuff, because he's in my network and I'm learning, I'm gaining market insight that I wouldn't have probably had without him sharing that. Number 9, you get questions answered, right? This is huge. If you're trying to do capture is fundamentally about learning things. It's about shaping opportunities, right? But it's about learning, getting in there and learning about problems or learning about, their favorite contract vehicle, the incumbent, all these kind of things. Well, if you have a big network, it makes it easier for you to get those questions answered. There's a reason that large companies like to hire these senior military people, right? 06 and above or something that come out. And their job is basically to go back in and just have conversations with your friends because it gives them this ability to understand what's going on, to ask questions about the direction maybe somebody's going. But also you can ask questions, like I said early on, about pricing. How would you price this? Or do you know any program managers? And this goes to number 10, right? This ability, a large network can help you with recruiting and talent acquisition. Maybe you're looking for somebody who's a top-notch leader to come into your back office, leader of business development, or you're looking for a program manager for a new opportunity. You can reach out to your network. You don't just have to reach out to Indeed or whatever recruiting tool is out there. You can reach to your network and say, do you know anybody? I currently know somebody who can fit at the VP of business development level who would be a great fit, who's got large and small experience. And as I'm knowing that, I will introduce them to other people. But I know a lot of people who keep asking me, do you know anybody who can help with business development, right? So understanding that having a larger network allows you to be able to find the right people to fit for your company quicker. Number 11, I really like, right? When you have a large network, you begin to be less lonely, especially you business owners. It's a lonely business. All those responsibilities on your shoulder. So if you have a big network, you begin to have people who really are supportive, right? Everybody in this community is supportive of you here today, but also your broader network outside of this community. They're there if you want to connect. If you want to go to a networking event, it's like, hey, can we connect there? Then you don't feel alone at the event. So building this network, it really does. There's nothing wrong with it. It can be kind of a lonely business. If you've got a lot of responsibilities, if you've especially ever been a salesperson or a business developer or a business owner, there's a lot of loneliness that kind of goes into this because you're working on your own. Don't do that. Build a network and folks will help you. The last thing is cost-effective marketing. And this goes with this whole idea of expanding your company's visibility. You can pay for marketing, but when you have a large network, pretty soon people are networking for you. This is a big deal. This is what, when you think about Amazon or Microsoft and they have partner programs, those partners are out there that's their network and they're marketing for them. You can do things that are similar to that where you begin to educate your network about who you are. And now they're sharing your story a little bit, right? Not a ton, but they're out there sharing it. All right, let's talk about who should be in your network. And this is a fairly straightforward process. I have many other trainings about these people and I describe them. But basically, when you think about the government, there's 3 groups of people you want to build that you have in your network, right? Again, these don't all have to be strategic relationships. These are people you're aware of. They're aware of you. That's more than enough for it to be considered in your network. And so you want to be connected with small business professionals, small business specialists, WOSB, whoever. Some of these agencies have people who are dedicated to the 8A small businesses, to the women-owned small businesses. And so make sure you're connecting with them. I think I did something on HUD today or Department of Transportation yesterday, and I was showcasing those people. So small business professionals within an agency, and there's many of them, right? We have a directory of 1,000 of them. If you haven't downloaded it, it's a free directory on our website on govconchamber.com. And when you go there, you can download this directory. Over 1,000 small business professionals that are in federal agencies. So there's a lot of them. They don't all have to be in your network, but that's a great start. And then contracting officers and specialists, and make sure you're trying to narrow that down to what you sell. Go find the contracting officers and specialists that have sold or bought what you sell in the past. Just look at FPDS or SAM, and you can find these people, and then you begin to do outreach, and you get to know them, and they're in your network, right? Program office personnel. This is the obvious thing, right? We want to sell to the program office. So make sure you're building that network. You don't want to go to the program office for the first time when you've got an opportunity and you're trying to win it and get in, blah, blah, blah. You want to build that network. You're in federal government contracting. That's a annual activity, what we say birthday activity, right? You should be thinking in birthdays, not in months and not in weeks. And so when you think in birthdays or annually, then building that relationship with the program office is this long-term prospect, right? So watch who they are and engage with them. And I'll talk about that in a minute. In industry, you definitely want to be connecting with competimates, large businesses that are out there, small businesses that are out there. I would keep them to your target agency, right? Of course, you can know anybody. That's not a problem. But when you're focused, which I'll talk about in a minute, you want to make sure you're knowing who's succeeding in the agency that you want to get into, and make sure you're building your network from those people as well as anybody else, but certainly those people. And then small businesses, make sure you're not just thinking small business, but you're strategically trying to build your network with HUBZone firms and women-owned small business, SDVO or service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses, and 8A firms. And the reason you want to do this is because a small business set-aside can come out in those different categories, and you want to be tracking on it. Same thing with, I didn't put it in here, but you could think about the Native American firms because they're set-asides in that way. And as you move forward and you have these small business connections, you'll hear about a lot of stuff, but you also have this potential for teaming up. And then I put a whole bunch of advisors here. I don't want to spend a lot of time because I want to get to the last slide of the how, but look at how many people are here. I talk about having 7 mentors, but here I'm talking about a lot of different folks. The PCR is a procurement center representative. If you don't know that you have a small business administration district office in your neighborhood, go find them, introduce yourself. They have events every single month. Just introduce yourself at the event, attend the event. Most of them are nowadays are virtual where you can do double things, right? But get to know them. And bosses are business opportunity specialists. If you're an 8A, you definitely want to have a strong relationship, not a compliance exercise, but you want to talk to them on a regular basis. Training is a thirsty business. The Small Business Development Center, PTACs, or what they call Apex now, those all you can find in my training on 7 mentors. But don't forget organizations that are there, like down in Huntsville is the Catalyst Center. Charleston Defense Contractor Association is in Charleston, whatever state. I can't remember. Somebody tell me. And those are great organizations because they've got their hands in, right? So Charleston is solid with Nywick Atlantic and some others. Catalyst Center is down there and knows everybody at MDA and around Huntsville. But also consultants are part of your network, right? There's all sorts of people out there. There's proposal writers, people who are doing business development or pricing exercises, your lawyers and your CPAs. This is your network. You want those people, especially the ones you're paying, you want them to work for you so they're aware of you and they're helping you build your network. They're introducing you to other people. Okay, so let's talk about 8 reasons or 8 ways that you can 10x your network. And these are just some tips that I have. I hold a lot of other training about how to build relationships, etc. But here I'm just talking about your network. Again, your network at this level is a looser level relationship than strategic relationships. So the first tip I have for you is just make sure you're purposeful. You're really determining who do you want to build your network in. I've talked about targeting a particular agency, etc. And so you want to make sure you're going after small businesses and government people in that agency around the department that you're trying to go after, but also define other criteria you might have. Maybe you're looking for companies that are in your space, like in IT services or construction. Whatever it is, make a point of defining that. Actually, in the chat, I'd be curious, if you were picking a target, what's your target right now? If you put that in the chat, say you're Army or you're going after DHS, and other people do it as well, now you have the ability to see people in this community right now who you might go off and build a relationship with, a networking relationship with. Number two, right, is be proactive in your networking. Don't just sit around and wait, right? Friends and networking, they take a lot of work. I was remembering this story. Those of you who don't know, right, this training is put on by me, and in the background is Gus Feld, and my sister Cecilia is on here. And Cecilia used to have more friends than her 9 siblings, the rest of us. And it used to drive us nuts. We're like, hey, how do you have those? It's like, because you guys are lazy. She used to build her friendships. She'd know what was important to people, know their birthdays, these other things. And so she would work at it. Well, networking is kind of that same thing. You need to be proactive in that activity. You can't just let it happen to you. You've got to make it happen to you. Giving freely is an important way to increase your network. It really is, because when you give freely, people are going to really appreciate it. I just got this great compliment today of I introduced somebody who was trying to get into the VA to another person who's already in the VA, and she reached out, and basically this person said, hey, as the saying goes, any friend of Neil's is a friend of mine, kind of thing. And that was a big vote of confidence, but it really builds my network now with this new person who was new to my network and coming in. She's going to be really appreciative, and she'll tell 10 friends. And when you give freely like this, right, not like 10 friends are going to ask me for something. They'll just be aware of who I am. So now my network is kind of growing. But if you give freely of your knowledge, of introductions, if you know about an opportunity, don't hold a single thing back. Information is free these days. Give it freely, and people will really appreciate it. And your network will grow as people just say kind things about you to other people. So reach out monthly. So one tip I have for you is when you build this large network, which should be it should be hundreds of people when you really think about it. You're not talking to all these people all the time, but you're aware of all these people. You certainly, like the Navy has 150 small business professionals, something around that number, right? You kind of want to begin to get to know them, many of them, certainly many of them in certain like NAVC or NAVFAC or something. But if you have a top 30 group of people who are in your network, consider reaching out to them on a monthly basis. And this is like a 2 to 5 minute task, a thumbs up, a phone call, an email, not long meetings, but just keeping them at the top. Understand your network has a couple of tiering factors. Okay, so engage on LinkedIn. You do this right now. I told you, if you see people saying, hey, my company does this, or people are putting comments in, just give it a thumbs up. On LinkedIn, go in and look at the content. I talked about John from Rogue, or Use Rogue. Sorry, John. Give it a thumbs up, right? And if I give it a thumbs up, or better yet, I go in there and I comment and I go, oh my God, this is so awesome, because here's some other stuff I'm doing with CDAO and the DoD, right? Acronym crazy. But if I say some of that and I add value to John's thing, now I'm engaging in that network, and I'm building my network relationship with him, as well as all of the other people who are coming in and engaging on John's stuff. Number 6 is just build a target list. So don't wait. When I say be proactive, build a list. If you're looking at the Navy or DHS or Booz Allen, whatever it is, say, hey, I want to reach into Booz Allen and network in there. We'll build a list of 100 or 200 people, and then slowly start reaching out to them. Say hi, or reach out on LinkedIn. Go find a bunch of them on LinkedIn. But whatever you do, don't do it onesies and twosies. Build a list. Be purposeful as you're trying to grow your network. And then as you have a network, give them opportunities, just like I am with you, of doing some training. Give them a chance to be able to come together. You can begin with just posts on LinkedIn, which allow your LinkedIn network to come together to a degree, right? And people will see each other giving thumbs up or something. But then you can do newsletters, or you can get advanced and do webinars and share your information. And you invite your network, and not only are they coming in and learning from you, but just like you guys in the chat are, you're meeting new people. Number 8, attend events, right? This is a great one today. Like, for example, in fact, what I would recommend you do is when you're done this training, reach out to the people who are in today's training and make a connection request. Unless you're completely different, you're open to a connection if you're in my training, right? We're all open to connections. So reach out to anybody who's here in today's training, and right, none of us sell, but just here's a suggestion. Reach out and say, connect with them, and you get a chance to put a note and say, great to connect with you, or great to see you in Neil's training. I'd welcome a connection on LinkedIn if you're open to one. Now you're networking. Don't get into a long conversation, by the way. When you create a new network or a new connection, don't dive into a deep conversation. Great, let me know if I can help you. Now you're on each other's radar, and you can slowly, over weeks and months, build a relationship. Don't dive in as if we've been dating forever. All right, here's what I want you to remember. If no one knows you, if you're not doing network, then no one knows you. That's not a place you want to be. Build your network in both industry and with the federal agencies. And the last thing I want to give you as a task here is just put in the chat, I'm open to connecting. Let everybody know that you're open to connecting. You can also throw thanks to my team. That'd be nice. But just at the very least, let other people know you're open to connecting. And for everybody, remember, government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. Part of the process is becoming a sustaining member when you're getting enough value in here that you appreciate what we do. We'd love to have you be a sustaining member. You can find that on our website. I'll see you in the next training.